Hi guys, I'm back now that we have performed the experiment. Now comes the fun. It's time to graph. So I have the data that we collected in class the other day. The milliliters permeated, it was 96 for the gravel, 90 for small gravel, sand 47, and clay 33. Now the control has 98 milliliters permeated. What that means is that 2 milliliters was captured by the filter. So what we want to do is correct our numbers here based on how much was collected by the coffee filter. So we know 2 milliliters was captured by the coffee filter. So we want to add 2 milliliters to each of our numbers so that we're actually graphing what ran through the sample, not just what ran through the funnel. So our actual corrected number for large gravel is 98. For small gravel is 92. Sand 49 and clay 35. And of course we don't write anything for the control because we used that to make our corrected numbers. Now for our graph, I have just selected a point on the graph paper that gives me plenty of room to write information on my axes. And then before I sketched this out, I pre-counted to make sure that I had room for 100 milliliters because I'm going up to 98, so I need 100 milliliters. That's what we started with. For my x-axis, that's always going to be my independent variable, and my independent variable was the soil types, or the soil texture, or the soil porosity. So I'm going to label the concept there, and then the individual types, and I'm going to let's think about this also. Should this be a line graph or a bar graph or a pie graph or what? This is not one thing over time. These are separate discrete units, so I'm going to make a bar graph. I'm going to make each bar about 2 boxes wide just so I can see it. So I'm just going to call this LG for large gravel, small gravel, sand, and clay. Oh, I am using a Sharpie on my graph. Don't use a Sharpie. The only reason I'm doing this is so that you can see this on the camera. But if I make a mistake, I will not be able to fix this. So please don't use Sharpie. Always use pencil. All right, on my y-axis, this is going to be my dependent variable. So this will be the water that permeated through the sample. Let me spell it right. And my unit is going to be milliliters. And then I always start my graph at 0, and remember each box has to be worth the same number. So I'm going to count by 5s. 5, 10, 15, 20. I've got my axes laid out. Now I just need to place the numbers in the graph. My first bar is going to be 98 milliliters. My second bar, 92. Trying not to mess up. For sand, 49. And for clay, 35. I'm going to color them a little bit so that I can distinguish the bars from each other. And I have forgotten one thing. What have I not placed on my graph? Yep, the title. You guys know how I am about the title. And the title is not a cutesy title, but the title always reflects what the axes are. So my title is going to be just restating my axes. All right, and then I want you to do one more thing. Is what we're going to do is make a predicted bar, because as we said earlier, we left out one of the soil samples. We left out silt. We know that of the 3 soil textures we talked about, sand is the largest, clay is the smallest, so silt's size is somewhere in between the 2. What I want you to do is to make a another bar on this graph, and we'll call it silt predicted. And you're going to place a bar somewhere on this graph that represents how much water you think would permeate through a silt sample if we had had a silt sample in our lab. Okay, so that's it. Make it look nice and neat. Use a pencil. And remember to text or email if you have any questions. Have fun graphing.